Greetings and welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about a status effect Warden build. Now, Warden, one of my favorite classes in the game, recently didn't feel so good, but now with the class passes that we got recently, definitely feels a little bit better. And I think I found a build here that I really enjoy playing. Very interesting playstyle, pretty easy to play, packs a punch. So yeah, that's all I need to say here. Let's look at the stats. So we're looking at over 31k health. Of course, this goes up because you're a warden. If you heal yourself through this or through this, whatever, right? You get your warden passive to pop, and we're gonna end up at almost 34k health. So not too bad. When it comes to magic and stamina, 17.7 on the magicka side and 19.2 on the stamina side. No giant stat pools here, but there's a reason for that. We're using a food that doesn't give us any magic or stamina stats. Instead, we're getting a little bit more sustain, which I think is needed for Warden. Warden always feels like it struggles a little bit with sustain. On this build, it should be fine. You have a decent amount of recoveries coming in, and also the way it plays, you have ways to kind of like offset your stat usage, right? Your expenditure. And yeah, so looking at the recoveries here, unbuffed, we're looking at 11k basically on both. This of course goes up when you drink a potion. This of course goes up when you have your cereal bonus and stuff like that. So overall, I would say we're probably ending up at like 1500 fully buffed, which is decent. Not the greatest, but it's decent. And the way this thing plays, it kind of plays in. Of course, we have the Warden Etch, which gives us some invisible sustain, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. The weapon and spell damage, unbuffed, sitting at just under 4k here. This goes up by quite a bit, sitting at over 5k now, and then of course, with the Cyrodiil bonus, this is going to be basically at, what are we going to end up, like 6k, and then you get your weapon damage enchant, so you're going to end up at like 6.5 to a little over 6.5k. So decent weapon damage here. Spell critical, this will go up a little bit further because we have the, what is it, 10% spell critical buff. And when it comes to penetration, there's a lot of penetration you can't see right now. Just buffed sitting at 5.5k. Since we're a warden and we're using shulks, this is going to go up by like another 9k. And then, we're using a lot of status effects here on this thing. So with the Force of Nature CP, this will give us like another probably 3.5k. So overall, we're looking at like probably 18k-ish penetration, decent penetration here. Looking at the resistances here. So getting that up here on the back bar, we're sitting at a cozy 29k. Very nice. And then on the front bar, we're sitting at a cozy 27. So not too shabby, I would say. Yeah, fairly tanky, this build. Looking at the other things, we're Vampire Stage 1. If you want to go Stage 3, of course, for more tankiness, feel free. But keep in mind, this is going to hurt your sustain a little bit more. So, depending on how used you are to playing a lower sustain build, this might not be for you. So I'll leave that up to you. I personally, I didn't feel like I needed it here, so Stage 1, fine for me. You don't have to be vampire at all, really, if you don't want to. I'm just including it because I'm always a vampire. All my characters are vampires, so that's just a lifestyle decision for me, not necessarily something that plays into the build very much. We're using Jewels of Misrule as our food. Very nice, gives you max health and then gives you both recoveries, which I think is very much needed on this build. And then as our Mundus, we got the Shadow. There's a couple different things you can go here. You can go for sustain if you want more of that. You can go for more penetration. You can go for more raw spell or weapon damage. I feel like the crit damage helps out here because we have decent stats all around. We have a decent amount of just raw damage, penetration. Our spell chance is not, our critical chance is not super high, but just adding that crit damage in kind of helps because we already have, like I said, we have the raw damage, we have the penetration. So adding the crit damage kind of gives you a nice, well-rounded damage build that hits nice and hard. You don't overcommit into like any specific stat. You're just like rounding out all the damage stats that will provide you some good damage here. Yeah, so that's it. Let's look at the sets here. So what are we running? We're running the Iris Cry set, which is the class set for the Warden. It just recently got a buff, and it's a lot better now than it used to be. So just in general, the 2, 3, and 4 piece, very decent here. Gives you some penetration, gives you a double line of weapon and spell damage, so that's really nice to have. And on the 5 piece, dealing damage with a light attack places Eagle's Mark on your target for 12 seconds, and that causes a little eagle, a little proc eagle, to just attack your target every 3 seconds. And the damage here is not super high. I've seen this damage on the tooltip go up to like 8.5k fully buffed, which is still not super high for a proc, but it just keeps happening every 3 seconds. And from what I've seen, the eagle actually hits harder than I thought it would hit. Like, I see 3 to 4k hits on people in Cyrodiil even, which is surprising because normally I would expect that to be lower, but the eagle seems to be hitting quite hard. So a 3 or 4k proc that just happens automatically while you're DPSing the target anyway, hey, that's nothing to sneeze at. And then, applying Eagle's Mark to a target gives you 10% extra damage towards that target. Very nice. That's just like all your damage, not just... Originally, this was just towards Warden abilities, and now it counts for all abilities, so it just buffs your whole build by 10%. Really nice. And that on top of a set that already has good damage stats, plus has like a built-in proc. That's a really good set now. I do like the set. I'm kind of surprised by how well it works and how much damage the Eagle proc does. So yeah, that's that. Then on the back bar, we got Mara's Bomb. You know it, you love it. One of the probably best sets in the game right now. The 2, 3, 4, not the greatest thing. Armor, some crit resistance, some healing take, and just, tanky passives. Then on the 5 piece, when a negative effect is removed, you restore 1300 health. Removing in this case means either you cleanse it off, or an effect runs out, like the duration runs out on it, or it is reapplied to you. So if someone spams an effect on you that leaves a negative effect and just keeps reapplying that to you, this counts as removing it, because the old one is removed and replaced with the new one. So that will always then trigger the 1300 health that you get from it, which is nice. That gives you just a little bit of like, healing coming in constantly. It can help with your overall healing. But the big thing here is the other piece of the 5 piece bonus here, where for every effect, like once you have 6 or more negative effects, every 30 seconds, they will be removed. So every 30 seconds, if you have more than 6 negative effects on you, they will be removed, and you will get 1300 health per effect removed. So it just cleanses you of all effects, and it will just basically tally up all the negative effects and apply that 1300 health heal for all of them. And you can have a ton of negative effects on you. If you're fighting on the front bar for a while, and you just stack up a whole bunch of negative effects, and then you swap to the back bar, Mara is going to cash them all in and turn them into one giant heal. I know people have seen crazy heals. I personally, the highest that I've seen on myself was 40k. So Mara can already give you a heal that's bigger than your health pool, basically. So yeah, really nice. And of course, getting all the negative effects off of you instantly all at once. Of course, Warden does have a way of cleansing stuff off of them, but it's only just one effect at a time. So it's not super effective to just do that constantly. But hey, once that Mara procs in, it's going to remove all the negative effects from you. Going to give you a giant heal, which can really save you when you're like, you're about to die. You have a lot of people on you, and you swap to the back bar, and all of a sudden, all the negative effects are gone, and you get that giant heal without having to cast anything. That's really, really nice. So Mara, very strong set. Then on the monster set, we're using Orpheon. Now, I used Orpheon on my last build, and because I really liked it, and I still really, really like it. This is an interesting set. I haven't really seen too many people use it. Is it the greatest proc set ever? No, of course not, but I do like this. If you have a build that can make use of it, this is really, really good to have. So what it does, first of all, weapon and spell damage again on the 1 piece, very nice. But then when you cast an ability that leaves an effect on the ground, after 2 seconds, you have like a tentacle that comes out and swings around. and it will do either like a low amount of physical damage and stun your enemy, or if your enemy cannot be stunned because they have CC immunity, it will do a big amount of damage. And that's basically what we want. We want the big amount of damage. Of course, if you get the stun, this is valuable too, because Warden doesn't have a lot of good stuns. So having that definitely nice, definitely good to have. But yeah, just coming in with that nice little extra proc really does help. And we have an easy way of proccing it too, and I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, I do really like this monster set right now. I kind of want to use that on many different builds. Then for our mythic, we're using the Shattered Path Signet. Of course, this is a status effect build. What this thing does is basically if you have 170% or more ultimate, it will buff your status effect damage by that 1% per percent ultimate that you have up to 170. So this is in PvE, of course. In PvP, this is halved, so you're getting like 85% increased status effect damage in PvP, which is still quite a lot and will make your status effects hit pretty hard. And then, of course, it can also apply one random status effect to a player, which, that's really nice to have because, like, as a Warden, you don't have, like, easy access to, like, a lot of different status effects. So you can, of course, get the overcharge, which comes from magic damage, because a lot of the stuff on your kit has magic damage, so you're going to get that. You're going to get your 3 elements from elemental susceptibility. And then, a scribed skill that we have is going to apply a 1. And then you got to get another one every 4 seconds from this one for just light attacking or heavy attacking people. So you have easy access to like 5 or 6 status effects here. Just playing your build. You don't have to even think about it. You just fight people and you're going to have 5 or 6 status effects on them constantly. Very nice. And then, of course, we have the 1 gallon chain here, the 1 trainee piece. That will always be a thing if you do a front bar, a back bar, a monster set, and a mythic. You're always going to have that 1 body slot that you should definitely fill with this trainee piece, because this trainee piece comes in reinforced, and it's just the best thing. It gives you extra health. It's in heavy, so you're going to get a lot of armor, and then it comes in reinforced, so the armor is even higher on this piece. So that's a good piece to just slot in as like a 1 piece, giving you that health, giving you that armor. So that's the thing you can always do if you have a front bar set, a back bar set, a monster set, and a mythic. That 1 slot will always be available to you. So highly recommend doing that. When it comes to the traits, I would just say go impan on all pieces and then have that 1 reinforced piece. If you want to play a little differently, you want to block more, you want to dodge more or something, adjust your traits accordingly. But I think impan is just the best all-rounder perk you can trait that you can have on your gear, plus that 1 reinforced piece. On the jewelry, of course, infused with weapon damage enchants. Of course, we want that damage to go up a little bit. On the front bar, we're running sharpened, and I got a frost damage enchant, because frost damage on the Warden hits for very, very hard. So you get the extra frost damage on the Warden, plus you get the extra status effect damage. So, when that frost damage applies chill, first of all, your frost damage enchant's going to hit harder already, then it's going to apply chill. The chill's going to hit harder. So I think that's definitely the way to go here. And then on the back bar, we got infused Mara's Bomb with a weapon damage enchant on. So you kind of want to make sure you swap over to the back bar every once in a while and keep hitting, like every 5 seconds, keep hitting a light attack, which I think makes sense. When you swap anyway and you heal, you reapply buffs, just do like a little light attack cancel. I think that makes a lot of sense. You should definitely get used to that kind of thing. And that's pretty much it for the gear. Yeah. Let's look at the skills here. So our first one is Deep Fissure. That's, of course, your bread and butter burst damage. Pretty easy thing here. You cast this thing after 3 seconds. The shulks are going to come out and do a decent amount of damage. And then after another 6 seconds, they're going to come out again and do more damage. So technically, if you want to land a really big combo, you kind of want to wait for the second one to come out. You kind of want to time that. That one's a little harder to time, though. So Might take a little extra practice to get that done. And then, of course, you apply the major and minor breach, which is super, super nice. That's an easy 9k penetration, just for hitting someone with your main DPS skill here. Yeah, really nice. Nothing much to it. Next one is Screaming Cliff Racers. So this thing is important. It doesn't feel great to use because it's like kind of weirdly delayed and it's easy to dodge and stuff like that. I still always like using it because it comes with a couple interesting things. First one is the fact that it is delayed. It can feel horrible, that delay, but it can also allow you to kind of stack more damage. You throw this thing out, it takes a little second for this thing to hit someone, especially when they're further away, which kind of gives you the chance to maybe do a light attack into an LE sus or a scribed skill or something like that you kind of want to hit at the same time. But another great thing is that it sets people off balance when you're further than 7 meters away, which that's a source of a potential stun for you because Warden doesn't have a lot of options for that. So it can set people off balance, and then you can follow this up with basically just a partially charged heavy attack, and that will stun them, right? And that also means that when that Orphean proc comes and they're already stunned, it's going to hit them for more damage. So that's an easy way of doing that. Off balance, of course, if you wanted to, you could use the off balance CP that gives you 10% extra damage. I wouldn't recommend it. Like, it's too situational. I think you're just better off with like other passives, but you could technically, right? And then another really important one is if you hit someone with this thing, it's going to give you 100 weapon damage, and it will quadruple after like hitting someone that's off balance. But the way this thing works is you hit them once and you get the 400. Okay, the quadruple happens immediately because apparently the way this thing applies is it will apply the off balance first, and then it will apply the weapon spell damage, which will then immediately quadruple because the target is already off balance. So if you're hitting a cliff racer on a target, and it sets them off balance, you will instantly get the 400 weapon spell damage, which is a nice little buff. Lasts for 10 seconds. You can just reapply that constantly, and it's just part of your combo. It's just part of your combo. It buffs your damage. Super nice skill. I gotta be honest. Doesn't always feel great to use because it has this delay, but it gives you opportunities, and it's just a pretty stacked skill, nonetheless. Anyway, next one, Pestilent Soul. So here, you could technically use the stun if you wanted to. I'm not using it because I have that off balance stun and I can do that. So I have a Dawnbreaker I can use to stun people, stuff like that. But if you feel like you want more control over a stun, also another thing, of course, is you're going to get the charm here on the next part. I'm going to talk about this in a second. So if you want more control, you could try to apply a stun to it and then maybe not go for the Warden class passive here on this skill. I'll leave that up to you. I think this one makes more sense. Just getting that big disease damage that actually hits quite hard. Then you get your Warden class thing. In case you don't know what this does, this is the ugly charm that you get hit with in PvP constantly. So you hit a target with this thing. It puts an AoE area around them, right? And after 2 seconds, they're getting charmed, and then they just like randomly walk all over the place. And if no enemies are charmed, you just restore a little bit of magic and stamina. That's not really important. You do want to charm people, but if it doesn't happen, you get part of the cast cost back plus some extra magicka, which is nice. But yeah, this puts the AoE on the ground that we need for the Orphean, right? So you hit someone with that, it makes the Orphean pop. So the way Orphean timing works is it's a little bit of a bitch, not gonna lie. Because this thing has a 2-second delay before it charms people, and Orphean has a 2-second delay before it comes out. So they both have a 2-second delay, and there doesn't seem to be a clear order of like which one applies first. It's just a race condition, basically, meaning that either one of them could come first, which is not optimal, but in most cases it's going to work out that the target gets charmed first, and then the Orphean is going to proc and do the big tentacle sweep and hit them for more damage because they're already, in a CC. so they can't be stunned. And yeah, and if it doesn't work, like if it doesn't charm them first, then you know the Orpheon's going to come out and stun them. So they're going to get they're going to get CC'd either way. So yeah, pretty nice thing. This really helps kind of fuck people over because the charm is it's so buggy. Sometimes it's hard to break. The AoE area that it leaves on the ground is kind of big, so if you don't react in time, you're not getting out of it. Like, and it can hit you in the dodge roll too. Like you try to run out of it, you try to dodge out of it, maybe it's still gonna lock in your dodge roll, and you're gonna just be charmed and walk around. So very annoying to deal with, but a pretty nice tool for you to kind of set up a little bit of a burst combo while they're dealing with that charm stun. And then as the affix here, I have the Major Savagery because we don't have that on our buff. Warden has easy access to it through the, which one is it? This one here, the Lotus Blossom. Easy access to it, but I don't really have room for it. I don't really want to put it on because it's not a bad skill. Like, if you don't need anything else and you have like an open slot, you can use this and then put something else here. But yeah, since I don't want to use this skill, I thought like, hey, like I have an opportunity to just get that buff here, so I'll do it here. But feel free to put on whatever, you know, seems appealing to you. I think this makes a lot of sense just to get that extra weapon and spell crit on that build. But yeah, that's it. Pestilent Soul, really nice skill. And then the next one is Elemental Susceptibility. This is basically your free spammable that will do a lot of damage because it applies, guaranteed applies 3 status effects constantly. So yeah, this will hurt a lot on this build, and you can use that to just like, you know, spam that on people for free. It doesn't cost anything. That's why I'm saying like this build might not have the greatest recoveries, but you can basically DPS for free by just light attack LE sus, light attack LE sus. That alone is going to do a lot of damage. So even if you're like running low on resources, you always have this option when you're offensive. You don't have to spend any magicka if you don't want to. So just keep that in mind. Of course, this applies Major Breach, which we don't need because we already have that here. But you know, it's not for the breach, really. It's just really for spamming status effects on people, and this will hurt a lot. This will make them hurt a lot. Another thing that you can do, you know, since we do have the breach here, but of course the deep fissure is more like a mid-range ability. If you want to attack from range, which you can, because like this one 41 meters, this one 41 meters, this one 48 meters. So you can basically spam these over quite a long distance, and you're going to get the breach from this thing when you're not able to hit people with your shulks. So keep that in mind, that if you just want to, you know, spam this, that which is, you know, it's going to do damage, it's going to charm them, this is going to buff you, this is going to set them off balance, and you can just spam this for free damage. This gives you an option for like a ranged, you know, build basically, where you don't have to rely on deep fissure to be the main driver for your major breach and for some damage. You can stand on a keep wall and just DPS people with this, which I have, and it does work. We're using a fire staff, of course. You can use a lightning staff, would work too. Fire staff gives you extra status effect damage, but the lightning staff kind of works in the same way for giving you extra direct damage, which is the status effect damage when they proc, most of them anyway. So a lightning staff would work too. The reason I like the fire staff better though is because you can charge up a heavy attack. So you can rip a heavy attack into an LE sus, into a Pestilent Soul, into a Screaming Cliff Racer. That allows you to just pack a little bit extra punch into a tight combo like that. Because you can't do that on a lightning staff because you have that channel. So you're not going to get that bursty nature that the fire staff provides. Anyway, moving on. Bird of Prey, basically just your, you know, gives you minor berserk, which is nice to have. Gives you immune to snares when you use it. So that really helps when people try to lock you down. And then, of course, Major Expedition for 6 seconds. Very nice to have. But you don't have to use it actively. You can just leave it on for the minor berserk, but having that speed and the immunity to snares and immobilizations, really, really nice to have. Just keeps you moving. Looking at the ultimate here, Dawnbreaker, as I've already mentioned, it's cheap. It's an AoE. It hits hard. It stuns people. So that's a really nice part of your combo when you have the deep fissure lined up, and you just pop the Dawnbreaker, and that's just so much extra damage. So yeah, that's pretty much all that there is. And also you get 3% extra weapon and spell damage just for having it slotted through the Undaunted passive. So really, really nice. Not Undaunted, but through the fighter skill passive. So you have this one here increases your weapon spell damage by 3% for each fighter skill ability slotted. So just by having that on, you get a little bit extra weapon spell damage. Nice to have, and it's just it's an easy ultimate to use. Let's look at the back bar here. Healing burst as your main burst heal, decent. Is it the greatest heal in the game? Probably not, but you have a lot of healing on this build, so this is okay the way it is. So the way I always do it is basically I go for the burst heal, I do the heal over time, and then whatever affix makes sense for the build. I went for minor courage here, which gives us another 215 weapon spell damage. It's just good to have, just stacking more damage. There's other things available here. You can look through if you find someone that like some affix that is more applicable to your playstyle. But I think this works well because it gives you that extra damage that you definitely want in this meta, and also it makes your healing stronger because the weapon spell damage just factors into your healing as well. So basically self buffs. The next one here is Living Trellis. If there's anything like a flex spot, I would consider this the flex spot. You don't have to run this. You could run other things. Since we are running a Resto Staff, you could easily run Rapid Regeneration here. This would work very fine and would go really well with the Resolving Vigor, of course. I have Living Trellis here because I like the idea of just, it just passively healing me when I get hit. And I can also cast this as like a mini burst heal. And it's a little bit cheaper. So if you look at the cost here, this thing is 5k, right? 5k Magicka, which is quite expensive. And spamming this will run you out of resources quickly. But we have Vigor and we have Living Trellis. And in situations where you're not taking like a crazy amount of damage, but you still kind of want to heal up, going for these two in combination is usually the better call, because this only costs you half the Magicka of this thing, and this thing costs you only 2.8k stamina. So you spread out the cost for your heal, and you don't have to like just hit your Magicka pool so hard. So instead of 5k on the Magicka pool, you're basically doing like 2.8 on the Magicka and 2.8 on the stamina. Kind of helps out spread out the the cost for your healing a little bit. And I would recommend just doing that instead of just pounding the burst heal so much. Use the burst heal on top of that if you still need it, but I would always say Vigor and Living Trellis first. Make sure it's up so you get the heal when you get hit. And then if you need some burst heal, but it's not like life-threatening right now, consider this before you go for this one, of course. Like I said, Resolving Vigor is the other one here. Very nice, gives us the minor resolve, which is just gonna provide more armor. And that's how we get to like 29k and 27k armor on this build. Makes the build fairly tanky, and this is a really good heal too. This heals for quite a lot. When you're near a keep and you're fully buffed, this actually has some really, really potent healing. The next one is your armor buff. This gives you the major resolve, which, as we said, will stack with the minor resolve over here. And then it gives you the minor protection. And this also plays in with the new class mastery that we're going to be talking about a little bit more here. But this basically will proc the glacial obstinance. We're going to talk about this in a second. But yeah, this will help proc that as well. And then Blue Betty, of course, restores some Magicka to you, gives you the weapon spell damage, acts as one effect cleanse, and yeah, if no negative effects are removed, you increase your damage done by 5% for 5 seconds. Not super important, but just a nice little extra, I guess. And then on the ultimate here, Northern Storm. Now I would say use whatever feels best to you if you want to run a defensive ultimate or another offensive ultimate. Northern Storm isn't that great. Like, I have it here because, like, I feel like sometimes I want that, get that major protection maybe, and just have that big AoE around me when I go into, like, a pile of people. I just want to have some more sustained damage around me. But overall, it's a little lackluster, this patch, I feel like. It doesn't feel super strong. So feel free to use Meteor or, you know, Warden Heal Ultimate or the Resto Staff Ultimate or whatever feels good to you. Undo, maybe, you know, like whatever feels good to you. This definitely pick whatever is best for your playstyle. Yeah, that's basically it. Let's look at the class mastery points here. So wild adaptation, right? You gain 333 weapon spell damage for each status effect that you put on your target, up to a maximum of 1665, which is gonna happen with 5 status effects. Now you have easy access to 5 status effects. Elisus alone will do 3. This will do another one, and then you have your Shattered Paths, which will apply a random one. So just by using these two with a light attack in between, you're going to have 5 status effects on. So this weapon spell damage will apply to every target that you put those status effects on. The damage will not show up in your character sheet. So in case you're trying to see how high your damage actually gets, you won't be able to tell, but you basically just get 1600 weapon spell damage on top of that, which is very strong, which makes this build hit really hard. And then the other one, as I already mentioned, is Glacial Obstinance. Basically upgrades the bond with nature to also activate when you cast a Winter's Embrace ability, which of course your armor buff is. And you will gain 15% weapon spell damage for 10 seconds if you're at full health after the heal. So yeah, that basically will give you, it will heal you. So this, okay, let me show you. So bond with nature, right? It's this one here. Anytime one of your animal companion skills and you are healed by 1800, right? So you're going to get a heal for casting this. You pop this thing, and as you see, that green number in the bottom here and also up there, you get a heal every time you pop this. And if that heal hits you while you're at full health, you're going to gain that 15% weapon and spell damage. So very nice. Very nice to have that. And this is also, this is going to pop with anything, really. This is an animal companion, so this is going to proc it, basically. This is going to proc it, this is going to proc it. This one technically should proc it too? Yeah, procs it too. So, easy ways to just get that passive to proc. And you can, like I said, also do it with your armor buff now. So, 1600 weapon and spell damage here for your target, and then this one, another 15%. This one will apply to your character sheet, of course. So, yeah, very strong. Warden, very, very strong this patch. And that's pretty much the skills. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. I'd probably not go for all the other ones here. If you wanted to focus more on doing a lot of damage with your status effects, you could potentially go for this one. I wouldn't recommend it. I would stay with these two. I think they're more reliable. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's look at the champion points, of course. Green Tree doesn't matter, really. You know, what I use is Gifted Rider, Warmount, Steed's Blessing, and Sustaining Shadows. And then on the blue tree here, Fighting Finesse, Backstabber, Master at Arms, Force of Nature. As I've mentioned, Force of Nature, this will give you 660 offensive penetration for every status effect that your target has. I don't think this... Okay, so there's like conflicting information on this thing. Some people say this maxes out at 5, which will mean you're basically only getting 3.5k out of this thing. Only is good. 3.5k just playing your build. That's a lot of penetration already. Some people say it does stack higher than that. Hard to say. But some people also say this still applies in no CP. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard it. And I wouldn't put it past ZeniMax that this, for some reason, works in a no CP environment. If you know more about this, feel free to educate me in the comments below. But it's definitely something I heard. But yeah, that's basically the offensive setup here that we're running, and then for the defense here, Boundless Vitality, Sustained by Suffering, Pain's Refuge, and Fortified. Sustained by Suffering, I feel like if Warden had a little bit better sustain, I wouldn't be running this. I'd be going for Survival Instincts probably, because that one is really potent and powerful. But since Warden, I always feel like has some issues with sustain. Sustained by Suffering, man, that extra 150, it's nice to have that. It's nice to have that. So keep that in mind. If you're okay with having a little bit less sustain, maybe you're playing in a group and you're not getting pressured super hard, you could put something else on. But if you're playing solo, I would kind of recommend this just to make sure you have enough sustain to keep going. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's the build, ladies and gentlemen. I'll leave you with a couple of clips. Enjoy, try it out. I really like this playstyle. This reminds me of kind of old school ranged Warden, which I always used to play back in the day. So yeah, hard hitter, fun build, easy to play too, really easy. And yeah, enjoy the clips. If you enjoyed the build video and if you like this, feel free to subscribe. Leave a comment if you don't mind. And yeah, like the video. Come back the next time. I'll catch you then. Enjoy. Bye-bye. Like, what's going to happen like 3 years down the line? Is everybody going to have like 20k weapon spell damage and 50k armor? And fucking 5k regens? And can we all fly around and drop like nuclear bombs? Is that what it's gonna be like? Like, Jesus, man. The capture point has moved! We seized the point! It was never a contest. I don't know if this build is strong or if everybody else sucks today. What do you guys think? What is it? Is it the build or is it other people? Is the build good or are other people shit today? Oh! Dawnbreaker didn't go off? What do you think, guys? I can't tell. Like, seriously, I can't tell. Like, shit. Am I just fighting like bad people, or is the build actually working? Oh man. It's just it never stops. It never stops. Killed werewolf seems fine. Like I mean, like, seriously, am I crazy, or is this build decent? I can't tell. I don't. I'm a little hesitant to just call it a win already. I feel like against other people I would struggle more.